I've decided to paint this character right here, one of the bosses in Sea of Legends, and I'm gonna paint him. I think I've decided like a gold. The body of the fish is gonna be like a goldfish or a koi. I've seen some online, and most of the fish are kind of like green or blue or something. But he kind of looks like he should be a goldfish. All right, so hi, nice to meet everybody. I'm Tristin. I'm an artist in the video game industry, and I'll be painting Mini for the Board Game Guildhall Studios. And one of my great friends is the designer for that game, Zach Wiseman. So let's see. I like to pull up a lot of reference when I paint. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look up some koi fish examples, and I'm going to find one that kind of just represents what I'm interested in painting. I'll show you my screen just so that you can kind of like walk along with me as I work. So that's what I'm looking at right now. Nothing NSFW at the moment, so I'll just, not while I'm scrolling. Who knows what I'll see. Yeah, there's a few in here that look right. I want them to be mostly gold and yellow, and then have some touches of white and black on him. So I think something like this. Yeah, that looks about right. Okay, let me load this up. That is not the picture I want. Okay, we'll go with this. Yeah, that looks right. Okay. And I'll maximize it. There we go. So this is the kind of look that I'm going to be going for, that kind of koi fish. I'll probably change the patterns up. I kind of want more white on his head than orange, so we can control that. And but the patterning and the proportion is good, and that's what I want. So I'm gonna get to painting, and I'll show you the paints that I've pulled out to work on this. Okay, so here he is. And I just kind of went through all my paints and pulled out a lot of yellows and reds and oranges. And I like to experiment as I paint. So I pulled out some contrast paints from Citadel. And these work really well on a light base or a metallic base. So I might do like a metallic dry brush on him first on the body of the fish, because I kind of want to get that shine on his scales, like that metallic shine. So I'm going to do a metallic dry brush on him. Then I'm going to go over it with the contrast paints, and then I'll probably do some layering with some other paints. And then at the end, I might do some more metallic dry brushing just in some spots to bring that back out. But that's kind of what my process is going to be like, but it might change depending on how it goes, how it evolves. So I like the way that Griffhound Orange looks. I did do some swatches on Wraithbone on the primer that I'm using of this layer or this contrast, so that I know what it's going to look like. And so Iridian yellow is a little bit too yellow. I kind of want like a more reddish, warm undertone, so that when I paint white on top of that, it has a really vibrant, warm base underneath. So we're going to start with the dry brush, and I'm going to use Auric Armor Gold, which is a really light gold, a very bright gold. And then we're going to go from there. Let's see. Okay. So here I have my a wet palette, pretty standard, and a cup of water and just some brushes. I do use for dry brushing. I like to use like my wife's thrown away makeup brushes. They're really nice for dry brushing because they're so soft. Here, I'll show you one. So if you can get your hands on some old makeup brushes, they're really good for dry brushing. And I like to keep those. Let's see. All right. So we're just going to clear this brush out a little bit, kind of get any loose paint out of there before we start dry brushing. Clean it out, fluff it up, make it nice and soft. Rub it on my hand a little bit. Yeah, there we go. That's feeling good. Okay. And let's get started. Ooh, this is a fresh pot. I have not opened this one yet. Shake it. Shake it like a Polaroid picture. All right. There we go. Perfect. All right. So I have with me a little paper towel. I have a canvas behind me that I like to brush stuff off, but put it in your dry brushing. I'm going to assume everybody's a total noob, even though many of you are probably very good painters and better painters than me, maybe. But I'm just going to teach it as though somebody watching has no clue what dry brushing is or what any of these, techniques that we take for granted are. So, on the brush, you never want to get the paint down near the bottom. You want to keep it near the top of the bristles. I've made that mistake many times. Even on this brush, you can see there's a little bit down there, but you want to keep it up near the top. And then you want to brush most of it off. But I like to kind of like do some zigzags like that just to get it in the bristles before I start brushing it off, right? I dab it a few times, make sure it's all over the surface of those bristles, and then dab it off until you're getting a light. Many people do it until you can't even see the paint anymore. I just like to do it until it's a very light amount of paint coming off. And then you dry brush. So I'm going to do it backwards because I want the metallic part to be on the tips of the scales. So I'm just going to catch the tips, right? I'm not going to do too much more than that, right? You want to get that shine on there. Nice. Adjust something with my camera here. All right. Let's let that focus. Focus you. Perfect. There we go. Okay. So just want to start dry brushing this back. Here we go. Nice and even. Get a little bit more brush, paint on my brush. Scrape that off. We don't need too much. And dab it. I like to dab it back in that pool of paint that I created initially, right? So I don't like move it around too much around this. I like to keep the initial dabs in the pool and then drag it back through the spots where I was getting it off. Right? Have paint applying to the model. And it also keeps you, it saves your paper towels. Save the trees, man. All right, so I got to get under here in this area, which is kind of hard to see. And it was actually hard to get to with the paint spray, but luckily I had some latex gloves so I could hold it and spin it in my hands and stuff. Get up under there. I like to see all of that nice and shiny. Okay, nice, looking nice. Looking nice. All right, I'm gonna get a little bit on his mouth. You know, he's got scales everywhere. Just dry brush that with a little bit of metallic. Not sure if the metallic, yeah, you can see it in the camera. Yeah, if it'll ever focus. Okay, I'll do his fins a little bit. I'm gonna dry brush these fins. Just across the fins. I want to catch the tops of them. Get that metallic color on the fins. Nice and shiny. I thought about doing like a water base for this guy. I have some water resin bases that I've done for like my Death Guard army. They all have swamp bases, and this is a 2-part epoxy resin, and I created like a little reservoir around the base, and then put in these are like clippings from like old autumn wreaths that were on sale at Michael's. I just kind of clipped some of the foliage off of those. Hang on, it's about to focus. It was going to focus. Okay. Anyways, so this is what I was thinking about doing, but for the time that we have, I'm just going to focus on the koi fish part and doing like a nice fish scale, like pearlescent look on his body. And if we can get to it, I'd like to do the character, but in 2 hours, you know, I like to take my time on these and not speed paint them too much. Because this is a hobby I really enjoy, and I like to savor it. To savor the painting process. All right, that's looking nice. I'm liking that. Let me see. We get these guys down here. Don't forget the tips of the fins. Get the tips right there. All right, and then this side of his face. So sometimes I don't even go back in the pot. Let me put my camera down so you can see brushes going into the son of a gun. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So you can see what I'm actually doing down here. So sometimes I don't even dip it back in the pot because there's enough paint where I pulled it up that I could just grab a little bit more on the tip of the brush and keep going, you know? And it gives it nice. So now I need a little bit more paint. I can tell it's kind of getting to the end of this pool here. All right, so let's just keep brushing that metallic paint. We're almost done with this step. Then we'll do some contrast paints and get his face a little bit. And you could probably just like bash it all on here and, you know, just dry brush it really quickly. But I'm trying to like control where it's going and you know, because I can come back in later and add more metallic if I want more, right? And I am going to do some layering. So some of this will be hidden by my layers. I like to paint opaquely. You know, sometimes I do some transparent painting and water them down, or put some medium in there so that it just layers up very slowly. But often I just paint opaque. I paint opaque. I mix my paints to get the shade that I'm wanting rather than just layering it up and allowing the paint to build up. I just mix it, and I don't know whether that's me just being accurate or me being lazy, but maybe a mix of both. So Greyhound Orange, and we'll cross our fingers, see how this turns out. That way, it's going to be a really bright orange, and then I'm going to come back in with white and paint some of the scales in white. So I'm just going to get it in there thick, not water it down. Paint it in on his body. I'm not going to touch the fins with orange, so I want the fins to be white. So be careful around the fins. There we go. And it can be a little bit thicker. Get through here. There we go. Nice. And we can clean up around the edges of the fins if it gets on there. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. I want it a little bit thicker in there because this is going to pull in those recesses. Contrast paints are a lot like inks, like if you've ever used Nuln Oil or Earthshade or any other type of ink that just shades, it's going to fill in those crevices and make those dark and leave the highlights brighter. You know, many of you probably know that already, but for those of you who don't, liberal use of inks or washes will make your minis look way pro, really pro. At least it'll step it up, you know? It kind of brings you to a new level of mini painting if you didn't already use them. And then, you know, if you just combine that with a little bit of dry brushing and accurate basing, I mean, you are already 90% there. The only steps after that are, you know, if you want to blend stuff and do any highlighting. So there we go. Getting under here. It's a little bit of a difficult area to reach, being careful, but we can do it. We can get in there. Nice. Okay. A little bit by his head, right in here. I know some of you are probably like, you missed that spot. Don't forget that. I might miss a few spots. I'm trying to be careful. Let me see. I'm just gonna check my reference a little bit here. Okay. All right. Cool. And then it looks like this is scale right there, so I'll get that one. Nice. Okay. And we did get a little bit on these ropes around here. Not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. Okay. And I just want to get that a little bit more in here. Looks like. Okay, so we're gonna leave this area alone. We're gonna let that dry. It will take like 10 minutes or so, maybe a little bit more, but we can start designing like the little shapes of orange that I want on its head. And for koi fish, it's really organic and splotchy. So I'm just kind of like going to dab it. I'm not going to be too careful. I want it to be organic, and I want to let the edges of the brush kind of control the shape of that spot. And I don't want it to be symmetrical. You know, I want it to feel I'm going to go around that eye, and then I'm going to go across this eye here. Nice. And then I'm going to get a little bit under the jaw. I want a spot here, so I'm going to just kind of dab that. And I'm going to bring it around and come up and leave that like that, and just do some like that. I think that looks good. And then I'm going to come back in with some black later, once this has had some time to dry. And I'll make some of those black spots that you see on koi fish. That'll look really nice, I think. Yeah, no, I think that's good. And they do have some spots on their tails often. I might just bring it down a little bit, like here, and then maybe let the brush kind of have some spotting there, like that. And then just kind of like that. Not bad, not bad. I'll do the same on this side. Get it in there, and then dab it. Dab it. Gosh, dab it. All right, I like that, how that kind of dripped in there and created this like little like tendril almost. So I'm gonna kind of maybe continue those, you know, maybe like just dab that one out a little bit and keep the one that looked a little bit more thin. This, yep, just gonna dab out, create like some little patterns as it kind of fades out into white. And then, you know what, I'm gonna create like a orange stripe up top and then fade that down into that. Nice. I kind of like that. I'm gonna do the same up here. Just gonna get a little bit more of that contrast on there and bring that up onto the top. And yep, no, that looks good. I like how it kind of flares off, almost like spikes. And then maybe some on the tips. Just the tips. Right there, maybe like right here, and maybe up here. Good spot there. Do some on the other side. Be very organic about it, not too careful. Okay, cool. Just a little more around here. Yeah, some down here. Boop, boop. I like that. He's turning out pretty good. I'm happy with him so far. And we gotta let this contrast set. So let's think about what we're gonna do next. So what I need to do after this is I need to give a little bit of a wash on his tail in some of these areas, but I don't want to disturb the orange until it's dried. So I'm going to work on these bags, I'm going to work on him, and I'm going to base these areas while this dries. We have 2 hours, so it will dry within 2 hours. So you can see the head is already drying, a lot of the body is already drying. Some of the areas where I didn't put so much on there. This spot will probably take that out a little bit, allow that to kind of seep in and cool out. Nice. Okay, so this will all dry. I need to put a wash in there. have some spots on his nose. I didn't want to work that while I was doing the contrast paint, but I can dry brush some white back, and I'll go this way instead of coming this way, because I don't want the edges to be white. I want the scales to be white, so I'll do it the opposite way. I'm getting paint on myself. So for these, I always go darker and then bring it back. Some people start light and then they trend towards dark, but I find with minis, because it's easier to catch the surfaces of stuff, I always start dark and work light. So we're gonna pick a dark brown, we're gonna base this, and then I'll probably pick out some of the pieces in here, make them different color, like cargo things, and looks like he's got some fish in a bucket on top and some treasure chests. So I'll just try and pick some different colors that will accent the orange well. So maybe like a teal for the treasure chest and some gold trim on it. And then some bright colored barrels maybe, and then some things that are darker. And I'm going to always go from dark on the bottom to light on the top, because you want to have a grounding effect on things like this that are 3D, so that it's always brighter at the top, and then it gets dark as it goes down, kind of like a shadow almost, like you're faking lighting. So I'll always kind of like keep it darker down here and just kind of work my way up. So I'm going to clean my brush immediately. Get that ink out of there, get that paint. I don't want to leave it sitting in the water. Remember not to leave your brush just sitting in the water. Clean it out. If you got any in the ferrule, clean the ferrule. The ferrule is this part of the brush. Yeah, clean that out. And then just set it to the side. Perfect. And we're gonna go with a big brush. Let me find a brown. Mornfang brown looks good. Let's see if I got anything darker than that. I think this should work. Mornfang. Anything darker? I have found that I really like the contrast paints. Oh, I gotta. Can you bring it really close to the camera to see it carefully? Yeah, sorry. Bring it up. Okay. So, I don't know if this is working. Let me move my brush. See, I can't read chat and look at what I'm showing you at the same time. Oh, there we go. That's in focus. Okay. Yeah, so you can see how I got kind of splotchy around the fins. And, his face. I'm going to do something with the lips, but I'm going to think about that. There you go. Nice. So let me set it down. And so I have been liking the contrast paints because I like to layer them up, right? So it gives you a good baseline, just to start with, and it saves time, and it actually does have like a really nice effect, especially if you don't mind the kind of like the pooling, like especially like right here. You see that this scale has a little bit of a darker right there that I'm pointing at. And right there, that scale right there has a little bit of a darker spot to it, but I think that actually looks cool. Sometimes fish do have like a few scales that are picked out that are brighter or darker. And I think that's perfect for this kind of a model. So I don't mind usually, especially not on something like this. So I will use, let's see. I'm gonna use a dark brown. I don't have too much, so I'm gonna mix some black and some brown together to create the brown that I want. So I've got black and I've got brown, and we're gonna make dark brown. Oh, I lost my camera scooting in. There we go. Nobody noticed. All right. So if you don't have what you need, you can always make it. And don't be afraid to mix it. And if you have a wet palette, you can make more than you need right away and then have it for later. And then always just kind of remember the ratio that you use to make a paint that you mix. And then you can always just make more. For instance, my Death Guard, I have this like cream color right here that's not exactly white, and it's not exactly like a paint that Games Workshop or Citadel makes. It's like a mix of like Kiss of Flesh and white. And I could probably find one that's pretty close, but it's easy because it's just half a piece of flesh and half Corax white, and I get this nice cream color. This like a pale white. So I make it pretty easy generally. I always usually do like half and half or 1/3 and 2/3, so that if I need to mix it again, I don't have to think, oh, how much was it? What's the ratio? I can always just kind of paint match, or paint match it to what I have painted already, and go with like a rough estimation of whatever ratio I had. And that makes it pretty easy. So never be afraid to mix paints to make what you need. Moral of this story. So that's pretty much it there. Just a little bit more. I'm just going by the size of the globs, not how many scoops I got out of there. So just gonna mix this up to the tip of my brush. Nice. Yeah. It's a very dark, warm brown. And it'll be a nice undertone for these accessories that he has. So just kind of like, I like to roll my brush a little bit and spin it on the thing, and that kind of like gets your brush to a nice point. So when you're painting, it starts off in a point. And then once you're painting, you can kind of control, get a little bit of water. Often when I paint with a wet palette, you don't always need to water the brush down, water the paint down to get it to flow. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. I mean, often you don't, but sometimes you do. Right now it was a little bit thick, so I just added a little bit of water. But I'm just going to go ahead and get this covered, get in all these cracks. Especially you want to get in the cracks of something like this, because I'm going to paint on the top of it, and you want those cracks to show through darker, right? So I'm going to minimize so you can see. I'm going to minimize this. Escape. There we go. Okay. So you just want to get in those cracks because that's where the shadows are going to be, right? And you want the dark under paint to be in the shadow area. So let me know if you have any questions, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Even questions about me, not questions about my work. I can't say, but painting process, techniques, things you want to see, or things you're interested in trying. There's a spot right here. There we go. I got it. It was kind of like between the fin and the dark spot. And this is an area where around here I want to be very careful because I don't want to get this brown on the fins. I want to preserve the look that I have on the fins now that I've gotten a first pass at laying down those contrast paints. So before it didn't matter so much if I got the orange on here because I knew I was just going to be coming in with a really dark paint and covering that up, right? But now I don't want to have to go back and bring back the orange or the white on the fins or on the body and have to, match that. Okay, so we're going to flip it upside down. I might go get some gloves because I keep freaking painting my hands. All right. Perfect. It's looking nice. Getting in there. It's nice and smooth. And that's another thing is like I've had friends who are like, why do I always see brush strokes when I paint? Or why is there always a texture on my model from the paint when I'm done, And that can be for, only a few reasons. And the biggest reason is because your paint is too thick and you need to water it down a little bit. And another one is your brush control. You're not getting rid of the beads, right? So when you paint a stroke of paint onto your brush, what you're doing basically is, obviously you're transferring the paint from the brush onto the model. But sometimes it creates on the sides of the brush where there was an impression down the middle, the thin part, and then on the sides, 2 beads, right? And that can create like an unwanted texture on your model. And so you can go back over that and like paint those beads out, but the consistency of your paint might not be smooth enough to go flat. It might be too thick. And then on the other spectrum, if you add too much water, you can break the paint and you can break the pigment apart, and it'll look really powdery. And that is also annoying because it has this gritty texture to it, right? And you definitely don't want that. You want the paint to be very smooth and have an even coat, and not have either the track marks or the gritty kind of texture that you get from breaking the paint. So there's a fine balance, but it's not too hard to achieve. You kind of just practice a little bit and you'll get it. I'm sure everyone in this room is good at that, but for anybody else who watches this video, the mixture is basically just, you have your pure paint on the palette. What you want to do is you want to just dip the tip of the brush in, just the tip, and then you kind of drag out a little bit of the paint, mix it in with that tiny drop of water, And then when you pull it out on your wet palette, you don't want the paint to kind of look like a splatter. So, and then this nice, smooth application, and it will go for a long time. Like I can paint with what's on my brush for quite a while before I need to get more, because it will spread. And I can come back here and grab some of that paint, where it pools up and spread that around. That's another thing is you can use the paint that's on your model to paint with, and you don't always have to go back in, get more paint. You can grab it where it's pooled up, on the model. And you actually want to do that. You don't want to leave paint pooled up on your model, because that will fill in those cracks, fill in those crevices, and kind of, obscure the detail. It's like if you put on too much primer, you can fill in those cracks before you even start painting and ruin it. So make sure to get rid of those pooled up pieces of thick paint. Nice. Okay. So even the areas that I'm going to paint teal or gold or whatever, I'm just filling in with this dark color because we're going to come back in. We're going to pull those out. We're going to do some base coating work and make that look really nice. Really nice. This is a rope right here. It wraps around the top of the fish between these two dorsal fins. Well, between the dorsal fin and the tail fin, I guess. It's a big tail fin. All right. Get that bottom part. Get in all of these areas. Beautiful. Nice. I don't know if you can see this. Just trying to be careful around the body of the fish. Like I said, I'm going to cover all of this without touching that fish. It's tricky. Yeah. And I don't know if you notice, but often when I paint, I have my hands in kind of like a position like this, one hand holding the model and one hand resting on the other hand. And this stabilizes this painting hand against the holding hand. So it's stable relative to the fish, right? And that helps a lot. A little trick. And you can also kind of like rest it on the table, but you don't want your hand free floating, right? Because then it's free to kind of float around and create lines and stuff that you don't want, right? So another thing, you can just kind of rest it against the table and then just kind of drag it along where you want while you hold the fish very still near your hand, right? And then you can kind of move the model around. Now I'll hold it up closer to the camera. Yeah, you can move the model around while keeping your hand still. And then just kind of slightly moving your wrist to get it in those areas. And when you kind of stabilize like that, it helps to do areas where you need to be more careful, right? So I can actually like write a message on this fish because my hand is stable enough. Nice, there we go. Getting there on top of this rope. Right. I think on the back side of this rope might need a little bit of paint right here. Yeah. Don't forget that. It's really a beautiful model. Maybe I'll have to come up with a fish riding wizard for my D&D campaign. Use this model on D&D. If any of my players are watching, you didn't hear that. Got to fill in these cracks. You want it in those crevices. Got to dab it sometimes. Dab it to get it in there. Push it in. There you go. That's it. That's the ticket. Dab it in. And that's pretty good. It looks like a big pile of mess, but it'll look better. I promise. Don't worry now. I like my brushes. Probably not the best thing to do, but I'm lazy, like I said. Remember. All right. Let's think. Let's think together. What colors should I paint this dude, huh? I want to get some community input. Light blue skin on the dude, huh? Light blue skin. I like it. That's going to go well with the orange. Light blue skin. Okay. With like white hair maybe, or like dark hair? You thinking? White hair? Yeah. Yeah. I'm liking it. Okay. All right. That's a good idea. Well, let's base the rest of the model. And then we can move on. Let me find a light blue that I've got. I got a medium blue, another medium blue. I got some grays. Let's see. What is ultramarines blue? That ain't light. Okay. We're gonna have to mix one. We could use a contrast paint. I have a few. Let me see how they look. Because we can always use a contrast paint as a base and then highlight up from there, which is a great tactic, especially if you're short on time. Ultramarines blue. I have one that I like. Oh, you know what? I think it's green. Yeah, that's the one I was looking for. It's green. I was looking for Warp Lightning, which is one I really like using, but I forgot it's green. It's a really nice bright green color. These are my blues, all right here. I have a few more, but they're too dark, so they're not contenders at the moment. But let me Google what these contrast paints look like when you put them on Wraithbone, which is my primer. So I just Google blue contrast paint tests. All right. And it brings up the exact thing that I want. Looks like Talisar blue is going to be a great one, and I have that. Talisar blue. This is going to be an awesome blue here. Okay. Perfect. There's not many I don't have, so I didn't expect not to have one that would work. But we're going to give this a shot. We're just going to get right into it. Make no bones about it. Let's make this guy blue. Actually, let's hold off on the contrast paint for now, because contrast paints flow a lot. So order of operations, I need to get the rest of his clothes based first, because if I do contrast paint first, it's going to be very difficult to base the stuff around him. So let's talk about his clothes. So he has this kind of frilly, either fur lining on his coat. It could be like bones or something. I'm not sure. And then he has a cloak with a hood on the back. And he's sitting on a bat, like a big sack. And that's about all he's wearing. He has dreads with some bands, and he's got this disc with a ball in the center. I think I'm going to paint this gold, and then the center I'm going to paint maybe like the same color as his skin, but like a gem. Either that, or maybe I'll make it just something like obnoxiously different than the rest of the color palette so that it pops out. And then his hand, he has... It looks like a rock or something. He has something in his hands. It's hard to tell. Okay, so his cloak and this bone thing, or this fur thing. I'm not sure what it is. What do you think we should paint that? So he's got blue skin, white hair, and he's sitting on an orange fish. So maybe I'm thinking like a brown, like a light brown, maybe something that will not stand out too much and will allow his skin to pop. So maybe like a dark brown that just has some black, huh? Yeah, maybe black. Let's read it a little bit. Okay, I'll see what I've got over here. Okay, I've got Abaddon black, and I'll probably just highlight it with some gray Dawnbreaker or something like that. Let's just get that down. All right, Abaddon black. They say never paint with black directly, but I don't agree with that. I'm going to mix a little bit of this brown that I had from his bags into it, just to warm it up a little bit. And I guess because of that, I'm following that rule of never painting black directly, but I just wanted it to be a little bit warmer and then kind of have a little bit of throwback, or maybe not throwback, but a little bit of a correlation to his his gear that he's got and all these sacks. You know, he kind of reminds me of like a merchant, like a traveling merchant. King Alarin. Yeah. Get a little bit more of that. I just don't want to touch his leg. By any means, I can't get this black on his legs. Or I'll just have to repaint it white, you know? Because... And actually, I got his foot with the orange, so I'll have to repaint that part white. Because the contrast paints need a white base. Or at least a bright base. If not a white base. Because they show through the highlight as it sinks into the crevices. But also, if you want a consistent coat, it needs to be consistently the same color underneath. Perfect. Okay, got around his wrist, around his leg. Get in there so you can see. There's that side of his coat and around his sleeve. Done. All right. A little bit more of that color. I'm going to bring that in here. Right underneath, along that hood. Down. All right, and then this sleeve. All right. Looking nice. Looking nice. Okay. Sorry if I go quiet sometimes because I have to hold my breath because I'm not that steady of a hand. You know, you'd think as an artist I would be steadier, but I have very shaky hands. You'd be surprised. So I have to hold my breath and stabilize my hands and kind of like do everything I can to keep my hands from shaking, especially when I'm going around areas that I don't want to paint. And like, look at my hand. I don't know if you can see how much the brush shakes when I just hold my hand, trying to hold it steady. This is me holding my brush steady. So, and then it gets even worse when I try and be careful, right? If I'm like really trying to be very accurate, my shaking gets even worse. It's like it knows. It knows I need to be careful. So yeah, anyways, sorry if I get quiet. That's just me holding my breath. But I won't pass out. Never done that before. Haha. Alrighty then. I like that. And I gotta get under here to this side. Right here. So there's like the underside of his cloak where it touches his bag and behind his leg. So it's easiest if I hold it upside down like this, right? So then I can just kind of push it in there and drag it, and that's done. Yep. You know, when I'm drawing or when I'm painting, often I will flip the canvas or I'll spin my notebook to draw a line the way I need to. Because my kinetics only work very specific ways in a careful manner. So I have to like move my artwork to accommodate for my limited, mobility. I mean, I don't have limited mobility, but my ineptitudes of, holding my brush like this and painting a straight line down, right? Or whatever it is, where if I need to get into a crack and paint. So I often just rotate this and keep my brush hand steady. Okay. Let's see. So that's the top of the bag. And then he's got these sort of tassels. And he's a king. So these tassels are probably what his real robe is underneath. So we'll paint this kind of like a gold color. And maybe some white trim. And then this right here, I'm assuming that's his royal robe. And this is kind of like a covering. So this will be a fur hood. He's trying to disguise his royal robe. So this is going to be a fur hood. So I'll paint this dark, and then I'll come back in and dry brush it like with a tan color, make it look more furry-ish. That's my plan of attack. Just leverage the dry brushing because it's easy. And the model is great. Dry brushing is always easier when the model is awesome. And these are great. They have a lot of detail, a lot of small details. But if the model is less detailed or has more like flat areas or open areas, it gives you a lot more opportunities for like layer painting and painting like custom stuff or using decals, if you like using decals. But if it has like all that detail modeled in, oh man, it makes it so much nicer. It gives the model more depth, and you can use some cool techniques that make your life easier and still bring out some awesome detail in it. That's what I like about things like this. Here I am flipping the model upside down again so I can get this underside. Perfect. And that side, gotta get that side. Deep breath. Deep breath. I don't want to touch his hair. Okay. All right. Get him there, and that's it. All right. Let me show you. Okay. So it's, nice, clean base coat, accurate. I didn't get it on any of the skin, didn't get it on any of the hair. That's the goal. There's a couple spots where I did touch his foot with the orange. So I'm going to go back in with some white, shake the dickens out of it. And I'm just going to clean that up. Let me clean my brush real quick. Put that to the side. Get a new brush while that one dries. All right. Something small, something accurate. This is a layer brush by Citadel. You can use it for whatever you want. You don't have to use it just for layering. And I'm just gonna clean up these areas where I got orange on his footsies. Poor feets. Just make that white again. Perfect. All right. Get that toe. All right. And there I was, trying to be careful and clean up his foot, and I got on his sleeve. That's fine. No big deal. Just come back in with that black right away. And bada bing, bada boom, fixed. All right, so you can see his foot that was orange now is all white, and it will accept the blue paint later once that white dries, probably 10 minutes. And we're halfway there. The model's not halfway done, but we're halfway to 4. So let's see. I want to get this fish knocked out. I want to take care of more of this fish. So I'm going to work on the body a little bit. Let's see. So I have some colors here that I want to bring in. And Gehenna's gold. I'm going to bring out some more gold in his scales. And setting these contrasts to the side. Bugman's Glow. It's a nice kind of warm pinkish, brownish red color that I like. And then I'm going to use a little bit of this. It's called Volupus Pink. And it's a really nice kind of like purpley contrast. But I want to get some like really rich, like dark purpley colors, like in the deep crevices, and really bring out some fleshy undertones. So at the end, I'm going to kind of like contrast paint this only in some very specific spots where I want to get it like deeper purple. And I think that's going to give it more of like a living life look, you know? Living things have blood, and blood is red in creatures that are from Earth. So I am going to put that red color in between the cracks where the flesh is. But for now, we're going to take some yellow. We're going to take some Bugman's Glow. We're going to take some Gehenna's Gold and some white. And we're going to pluck out some of these scales and make some cool patterns. Maybe do some highlighting on these and see where we go. And this is going to be experimental. I didn't plan any of this out, and I think it's going to look great, right? So just going to take some of these scales and pluck out some of the tips like this with some yellow. Yeah, like that. You know, there's nice like dark spots in the center of the scale, so I kind of want to leave that, you know, and just want to paint the edges a little bit on some of them, you know, not all of them, but some of them, and especially I want to try and get the tops. My brush. Oh, is my camera working? I think my camera stopped working. Aha! We're back. We're live. Okay. So this paint is pretty watery, but we're going to put it on the wet palette. We're going to take a few dabs of it, put it on the wet palette, get it on there. And actually, I want to mix a little bit of white in there. I'm going to lick that off. Yeah, mix a little bit of white in there. Make that a brighter yellow. A little bit more white. Nice. And I'm going to take a little bit of gold, too. I want to get a metallic sheen to this. Metallics, you got to shake up a lot. Because metallics have not only the pigment, but they also have flecks of actual metals in there that give it that. So you got to shake it up a lot to get the paint to be the right consistency. I don't have a paint mixer, which I probably should. 1 drop of the metallic, the Gehenna's Gold, and we're just going to mix this on the palette, see what we end up with. I might want a little bit more white in this. I got it in the ferrule, so I'm going to immediately clean the brush. before it goes too deep in there. And put a little bit more white in this. Nice. Okay. That's what I want. A nice creamy gold whitish color with some actual but gonna be my highlight these scale and see how it looks. And I did mix some water in there already, so I'm going to do so. So I'm just going to come in here on the tops and on the edges and just kind of like touch it. You know. And then some of them I'm going to actually paint the whole scale. I'm going to lick it and take that off. I'm just going to blend that out. Blend that out. That's good. That's good. Make this one a little bit more. Blend that out. You know, if you're quick enough to get it to your water, you don't have to lick it. I don't recommend licking it. No. And then I'm going to take some of this yellow and I'm going to highlight some with yellow. Especially these ones over here where the contrast kind of flowed away from, you know. We're going to need to go in here with a color to fill this in. And maybe that's where I'll use the Volupus pink, you know, to do that. Let's bring this yellow here, highlight this gill here with that yellow. Nice. Highlight that with that yellow. Okay. Maybe over the eye. Bring that yellow down. And I'm going to blend it out. Just so that it's not a line. Okay. Fish have weird eyes too. I'm not sure if I'm going to paint the fish's eye, but it's usually about yellow and black. I'm going to paint the fish's eye in the middle, yellow, like a gold color. Same color I'm highlighting him with. Okay, I'm going to grab a little bit of this and then get a little tighter. Nice. To make that pop out. And then I'm going to take my black and let me look at the shape of a fish's. Okay, so it is just a black dot, but I want this fish to seem intelligent, so I'm not just going to make it like one of those really soulless looking fish eyes that's got a really narrow pupil. All right, there's the fish's eye. I like the placement of the pupil. Can you see it? There. And I'm going to take a little bit of white and I'm going to put a sparkle. I'm going to put a sparkle right next to the pupil. if you look at a human's eye or any animal's eye, the sparkle always kind of cuts off the black dot. So when you do this, you want to kind of not center it, but you want to offset it right. And actually, you can see my brush is a little bit split. So if I can kind of like flare that out, maybe, and get two sparkles, we'll see. Maybe I just need to do one at a time. But you offset it right on the edge of the pupil or in the iris. Boom. Boom. It's going to take a few touches to get this. Gonna take a few. Okay. Okay. I gotta lick my point sharp, touch it into the white, just like that. And we're just gonna poke it. Come on. Poke, poke, poke. Eyeball, eyeball. Close, close. A little bit more. Okay, I got a little bit more paint on the brush. Hopefully not more than I need. Add a little bit off. Okay, and just try again. This is delicate. Aha! Perfect! Nice. Looks intelligent, if I may say so. Got that little sparkle of life. Okay. I'm gonna paint some of these scales white. You know, it's got a few white scales in there. Maybe they're not all white. Maybe they're like partially white. Maybe they have a little bit of a shape to them. Not bad, not bad. This one that I blended earlier. Just bring back a little bit of that highlight on the outside. And I'll just pick like one of these scales right here to be white. That one. And one under here, this one. Right? You kind of want to vary up. If you're doing something like, you want to vary it how you're applying randomness. Right? Okay. So pick that scale right there. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Okay. All right. Now I've decided we're going to bring back like a little bit of a white pattern on his body. We're going to do it right here. Right where these three scales are in a row. I'm going to do a little bit of a breakup in the orange. So we're just going to paint the tips of these scales white in just this area. And it's okay to speckle it a little bit with your brush. Yep. Give it a little bit of texture. Pow. Just hit that with some white right there. And then I'm going to fade it off, skip a scale, do one here. Make sure it's bright enough that you can tell. Okay. And then I'll do this one here. Just to kind of give it a little bit of a fade also. Nice. All right. I like it. I like it. Okay. we'll continue with the highlighting on the edges of these. We'll mix a little bit of Bugman's Glow because I think the white was a little bit too harsh when highlighting. So I'll just mix a little bit of Bugman's Glow. It needs to be a little bit brighter than that. Bit of a pinkish highlight. Okay, I think we can work with this. All right, let's see. Yeah, it's very subtle, but it works. Yeah. So just highlight these scales. I like it. The pink helps with the orange. Okay, just highlight the tips. Highlight all the tips. And we can go a little bit further into the scale because we're going to come back and dry brush that metallic color onto them. And that's going to kind of, the pink part is going to go under the metallic and tint that metallic a little bit pink, a little bit reddish. You know, in front of this really brilliant orange, this pink almost looks gray, but that's okay. It's gonna have a cool effect. I can tell. Okay. All right. I'm just gonna highlight here a little bit, right there. Bring some under his eye, right there. Right under the eye. And then another little thing is, if you're not sure that you can, you know, like for here, right under his eye, there's these two ridges. If you're not sure, you can hit those ridges with the tip of your brush. You can hit it with the side of your brush. Lay the brush flat against the model and then brush them across. So for instance, I can just lay it across on the side and just brush the side of it along that ridge and just touch that ridge. Same with this ridge, just touch the ridge. Boom, and you can leave that shadow part right there. Get that pink on the part where you want it. Perfect. I want that gill right there, so just turn it, get the side of that. Nice. I like that pink. That's looking really nice. It's cooling the orange down, giving a nice little highlight. It also has some flesh tone to it. It's looking good. I like that. Okay. Now the white itself is a little bit lifeless, like on these lips, on this edge. So I would need to put a little bit of a shade on that. I want to test how the Volupus pink looks on that. Let me just Google that. Because you don't want to like ruin your model by just testing something on a model that you've been painting for a while. You know, I'm like, oh, I wonder how this is going to look. Let me just do it. And then have to completely undo it. So we're going to look up Volupus pink, contrast, test. Boom. Okay. Go to images. Okay. That's what it's going to look like. That's really pink. Yeah. I remember that. Magos purple is not bad. What I really want to do though is just get it in those edges, just to kind of give him a little bit of depth in the white. So we're gonna do a shade instead. We're gonna go Druchii Violet, or Druchii Violet. I don't know. It's a deep purple, but it's going to leave those whites white. So we're going to get my shade brush here. I'm going to take this white, and we want it to be purple. I want it to be purple because I want it to have that, that look of flesh and also that cool, dark, purple shadow. And I'm just going to be careful, only get it around the edges, leave those whites white. And at the end, I'm going to come back in with white and kind of layer back brights. So get this on some so bright. I'm going to come back in and fix that. Same with the lips. I'm going to do a line across the lips with this purple. Nice. I like this. I like how that's turning out. And under here, I'm going to be a little bit more liberal because we want this to be in shadow, right? And we want the shadows to be cooler. I want the shadows to be cooler. Nice. I don't know if you can see that. I like how that purple is pooling. Nice. Yes. Yes. Get it in those crevices. It also stands out from the orange. Purple and orange are pretty far on the color wheel. They are not exactly complementary colors. Purple is complementary to yellow. Blue is complementary to orange. But they're very close to being complementary, which makes them have a really nice contrast without creating too much vibration. Color vibration is when you have two colors that are exactly opposite on the color wheel, like red and green, and they're on top of each other, and the colors almost seem to glow, and the edges where they touch vibrate. That's color vibration, and it's not always like some artists use it to create a discord, like in a sense of uneasiness when they paint. Or they'll use it to create a very strong like contrast. But that's not what I'm going for. And often if you do that, it can clash a lot. All right, so that just brought a lot more depth to his face. Like if you can see all that, that looks really good. I'm going to do his eyes too. I'm going to get that eye. Just cover that eye. I'll bring back the white later. We're going to do the fins, especially around the edges. Around here, drop that in, get that in there, and then just kind of brush it out, brush it out, brush it out, brush that out, brush that out, brush that out. And I'm going to use a different shade for the rest of the fins, but just around the edges, I want this Druchii Violet because the edges are where, if you think of a fin as his arm, and the muscle is right where this attaches. So that's the thickest part, and that's where the most blood is going to be in the anatomy of the fish. So right where it touches the body, that's where I want the most purple to be. Yeah, flare that out. I'm just going to get a little bit more out there, some places. Maybe just dab that. Dab that on. Dab that brush. All right. Looking good. Looking good. All right. Let me get this one. I'm just going to bring this down. Bring that down. Come on. Keep going. Perfect. Right under this. I like it. I like it. I'm going to bring some a little bit more to the corners of his mouths. A little bit more to the corner. Right there. And under here. Yeah. Yeah, I'm liking the Druchii Violet on this guy. I'm going to put some right in here. Right in there. Right under here. I did say I wanted to put some purple here. I think I'm going to try this Druchii Violet. See if I can put this around this area where I was talking earlier. Just dab it in, let it flow. And then I want to hold it up a little bit. Because last time I think it just flowed away. So I don't want it to flow away so much this time. So dab it around the white, not in the white. Dab it. Dab that. I want to avoid these metallic areas a little bit. Because I like how that metallic area kind of absorbed the contrast paints. And I want to leave that the way it is. Okay. I think that's good. I don't know if you can see. Let me enhance. Zoom. Enhance. Zoom. Enhance. Come on, camera. You can do it. Perfect. There we go. Okay. So I'm digging how some of those scales are looking. I like how those shades popping the face out more, right? Especially on the white areas where I wanted to leave it white, because it still looks like it's those white patterns on the fish, but with fleshy shadows, right? Okay. So what's next? His cloak is dry. We're going to do his skin. And then with the last few minutes, I'm going to try and finish up his scales. See if I can do the last bit of layering and cleaning up on those and make those look nice. Right? It's okay. This is why I close them. This is why you close them. All right. The show must go on. Son of a gun. I did put enough. It has not seeped through onto my table. Okay. I'm just gonna put a plastic bag under this just in case it seeps through onto my table. And then I'm gonna let that soak into this piece of paper and keep going. Move these out of the way. Brushes got soaked. What a mess. What a rookie. Okay, there we go. Plastic is under there. All right. Hey, I have as much of this as I want now. All right, am I right? Wait, is the camera? Oh, the camera is working. All right. I can't even tell which side is my paintbrush. It's so covered in this stuff. Okay. There we go. Oh, man. This is like the whole pot of contrast paint spilled. And I only need enough to cover his face and legs. That is so little. Of course this would happen. Okay. Let's get it on his legs and his hands and his head. Everything that's exposed. All right. One leg down. There is so much paint. Oh. Oh, there are coins in his hands. Wait, is that coins? I can't tell. It's so small. I think it's coins. Blue skin. You gotta have blue skin. You know, That's right. Where's my Smurf army? It's getting all over my hands. Like, I can't, all of my brushes are soaked. It just spilled everywhere. Alright. So, here we go. Let's get it on the top of his head. I want to bring it right up to his hair without touching his hair. Line. Just like that. Get it down his face, onto his nose. Don't touch his beard. Let's try his cheek. Get it on his cheek. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Nose. I didn't quite get his nose. There we go. My Smurfy man. I have basically spilled a paint pot almost every time I paint. It's very unfortunate. Well, it's not always me. It's either me or my wife or my dog. My wife has spilled, I think, 4 pots of Agrax Earthshade. Not to throw her under the bus, but I think that's the most spilled paint in my household. Agrax Earthshade. I have spilled Abaddon Black the most. Now, I do have Black Legion, and that contributes because it's one of my most used paints for that army. And then I also paint my Death Guard to match Black Legion, because if I ever want to run like Death Guard, like Plague Marines in my Black Legion army, I want them to look like they fit. I give them a little bit of extra oomph, you know? They're not just like black armor or Death Guard. They're like Black Legion with plaguey, elements. And I do the same with my Khorne Berserkers. They're mostly black, gold trim, and then like red helmets or like red, something else just to kind of like give them a corny look. All right. Oh, his other hand. There's the thumb. Nice. And there's the back of his hand. Get that. Yep. And the side of his hand. Nice. Okay. And get that knuckle under here. There's like this hair that's hanging off of my brush. And I got it. Irritating me. Alright, so he's blue. So you didn't get this cheek. Didn't finish this cheek. There we go. Blue man. He's gonna join the blue man group. Oh, it almost dripped off of the edge here. Get back in there where you belong. Okay. Cool. Now, let's see. We're gonna get some Nuln oil. I don't want to use Agrax Earthshade because I use Agrax Earthshade because it's a dirty shade. So if you want something to look like I'm still here. If you want something to look like it's grounded and it's been on the earth and it's, got some dust and wear to it, Ambrax Earth Shade is a great shade for that. And any sort of like earth tone, brownish or warm shade is great for that. Nuln Oil, however, is a cooler shade. It's very neutral. And if I have Nuln Oil, I'll show you. If I don't have Nuln Oil, I'll have to use Juicy Violet. Nuln Oil. Now, some of them are matte and some of them are shiny. I'm not sure which one this is. It doesn't. We're going to have to hope. It doesn't matter, honestly, because I can go back in with like a matte sealer or a shiny sealer. Nuln Oil Gloss. So this is matte. But I like to varnish them at the end with a sealer. And then I pick kind of like either matte or shiny depending on the look I want. Is it stuttering? Hello? Test. Okay. All right, we're going to go in with Nuln Oil. It's a neutral shade. Hopefully it doesn't make this look too dirty. But I want it to be grayer than warmer, right? So I'm just going to cover the fins with Nuln Oil now and get rid of all of that nice, beautiful white that you see. And then bring that white back with a little bit of dry brushing. But I want to pop these fins out. And there's no better way to do it than a shade. Look at all that detail coming out. Look at that. I mean, come on. Look at that. The detail. All right. Now let's get this fin. I feel like there's an octopus next to me every time I look in the corner of my eye. I see this huge, freaking sprawling tentacle monster taking over my desk, and it's just a reminder of my mistakes. Okay, there we go. Getting that in there. Focus. Yep. The details. Now it doesn't matter that it's kind of getting a little dingy and dirty. We're gonna bring that white back at the end, and I won't leave you hanging. I will bring it back. Okay. I'm not gonna leave the stream before I finish at least the fish, right? Okay. Dang, look at that. Look at all the detail. Okay, now I'm going to get this side on this side of the fin. Get in there. And I'm trying not to go over the parts where I already did the violet, the Druchii violet. I'm trying to get the other areas. And I'll try not to spill any more paint pots and make my life harder than it has to be. But you know what? This is one of the perks of painting live. Everyone gets to see you spill a giant paint pot on your desk. I made this desk, by the way. I stained it and put it all together, built the cabinets, and I did the varnish. And it took me. I'd never made anything like this before, and it took me a while. And I was really upset. I thought this was going to spill onto the finish on the wood, and I was like, no. In my mind, I was like, no, don't. But it didn't, and it looks like it stopped flowing, so we're good. Okay, there's some spots in here, really hard to reach, but if you get the right angle, you can get it. Now look at that. Isn't that just some complete coverage here? Now we want to come back and match this white right here, right? So it needs to dry. Looks a little dirty, looks a little dingy, but that's okay. We're gonna bring that back. I can't see. There we go. Pow. Yeah, it looks dirty and dingy, but it's going to give it a little bit of color variation, a little bit of hue variation. You're going to have those purples. You're going to have like some areas that look a little bluer, a little redder. And it's going to be great. All right. I'm going to set him to the side. Whew. So while I close this pot. I'm going to stretch for a second. Oh. And let's see. Let's work on the bags. Look at my hands. I am the leader of the Smurf army. Okay, we're going to work on the bags. So, I got this paint here, this paint pot, Mornfang Brown. Pop it open. Let me get a smaller brush. If I have one, I think is in here. Here it is. Now I said don't leave your brushes in here, but this is the ends of the brushes, the bottoms that got soaked in. I don't know if you can see that. And there we go. It got soaked in freaking contrast paint. Okay. What was I doing? Right. Brown. So I'm going to take this brown and I'm going to pick out. I'm getting blue on the back of my hand now. I'm going to pick out a few of these little things in here and just paint it up a little bit. I'm going to leave the darkest parts dark. And I'm only going to paint the body of it that is not in the shadow. That's not in the ambient occlusion areas. And I'm just going to pick out a few with this color. And I'm going to move on to a new color. Because not everything on his pack would be made of the same material. It can't all be brown, right? Who knows what this is? But it's going to be brown. Okay. Now, this looks like it's going to be a wine bottle. So, we're going to do like a purplish bluish color. And Gene Stealer purple. We're going to make it Gene Stealer purple. And I'm going to mix a little bit of brown in it maybe to darken it up. Oh, gotta shake that. There we go. And now, this is a mistake. I'm not going to try and open it with one hand over my computer. Let's use two hands. There we go. Look at that. Safe and secure. We've learned lessons, haven't we? We've all learned lessons here today. Oh, no. I just realized there's a few spots I did not get any Nuln Oil in. So we need to very quickly get some Nuln Oil on the brush. Dab it in those areas. Dab it. Perfect. Ha. All right. Okay. All right. Purple. I'm going to mix a little bit of brown into that just to muddy up that purple a little bit. And we're going to paint this, I think, wine bottle, or it's some sort of liquor bottle, a dusty purple. A beautiful. Beautiful. Look at that. Would you believe it? Get the top. Yep. Don't touch the dark parts. Okay. Now we're going to get a little bit of white. That was almost a mistake. You guys are watching a painter fall apart here. Okay, a little bit of purple, put it in the white, lighten that up. Boom. Now we have a lighter purple. We're going to go back over this purple with some highlights and boom, boom, drag it down. And get that side, drag it down. Touch the top. Just like that. Just like that. All right, now we want a little bit more white. Nice. And we're just going to touch it in the purple. Touch. Mix that. Right. And now with the highest highlight, we're going to go right down the middle. Pow! Right in the middle. You can't see it so well, maybe, I don't know, right there. But right in the middle, there's a streak of white highlight, and it kind of fades off to the edges. Touch the top. Boom. That, my friend, is layering. All right, and we have another one right here, much larger. We're going to paint it the same way. Little bit of purple, little bit of brown, and we're just going to paint that. Leave the shadows dark. Get that down in there. And drag it up. Get the edge of that. Drag it down. And there we go. And now, hold your breath. You don't have to hold your breath. I'll hold my breath. And we'll get the top. Yeah. And then the other side. Yeah. And then this side. Perfect. All right. Now we want to get this white-ish pink, purple. And now because this is sitting at a different angle, we're going to paint the highlight in a different spot. We're going to paint it across the top, just on this plane, just like that. And we're going to leave the rest of it this darker purple. Now, I'm imagining that the lighting is coming from the top when I do this, right? So now, when I take this white highlight, I put it right on the edge where that light turns. Boom. Bada bing, bada pow. There it is. And there's a lot more contrast on my camera than there is in real life. But it works. Now I'm going to get a little bit of this, and I'm just going to blend this down without any brown. Yep. just let that turn the form. Okay. And let's see. I like this leather pouch he's got here. I'm going to close up my paints here. Close that. I'm going to take Bugman's Glow. Oh. Hello. I'm going to put it on my wet palette a little bit. Boom. And I'm just going to layer onto this. You know what? I'm just going to rebase it. No, I'm not. Okay, I'm changing my mind. I'm going to leave the shadows alone. Not bad. Okay. I'm going to lick brush back to get into front. And there we go. King Olarin is looking great. His bags are ready for travel. They're getting there at least. All right. Not bad. Now, if I were to do this again, I feel like Bugman's Glow is a little bit bright, and I would want to start with something a little bit softer. Work my way up to Bugman's Glow. But I'm going to work with it because I started with this. So, you know, you kind of got to roll with the punches. Okay, so getting these straps in there, you know, getting these trims, painting that all Bugman's Glow. I'm probably going to come back in with a shade on this again, leaving these dark parts dark, just bringing this Bugman's Glow right up to the edge, dropping my brush in my lap, painting my lap. I'm going to get this Mornfang brown, mix it with a little bit of dark color, bring it back into the Bugman's Glow to darken it. And now I'm going to blend out from the shadows because, like I said, you got to roll with the punches. I didn't paint it. I didn't start with a darker color earlier, so now I got to blend back into this brighter Bugman's Glow. But we can do that. So I just take it into the wet Bugman's Glow, and I brush it down. And then I kind of blend across. And now you can see, hopefully, I've demonstrated on that it has, son of a gun, that it has a nice little gradient from the top down, if it will ever focus. Yeah. Focus, camera. It's hard to tell if it's focusing. Anyways, wet blending. You know, if you don't do it right the first time, there's always wet blending. So take a little bit of that dark, mix it with your lighter color, the Bugman's Glow, to create a mid-tone between the dark and the light. And then you take it from the dark and you blend it slowly towards the still wet lighter color, right? You want to go in a single direction generally, and I'm going side to side, chosen side to side. And then you go darker, you go back up, you go side to side, and you blend it down. Again, take a little bit darker, go up, blend side to side, and go down. All right. Not bad, not bad. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing up here. I'm going to take this darker color, take it from the shadow, and blend it out. Not bad. Okay. That bag looks pretty good. I'm gonna find a color. No. Let's do these chests first. let's do the chests first. This tail is still drying. You can see that the Nuln oil is still going, still drying in there. I really like how his face is turning out, the fish's face. He's got some nice purple shadows in there. I'm going to take some white and some purple in a minute, and I'm going to mix that together, and I'm going to blend it out to the white. So I'm going to create a nice little transition between these lines, these purple lines, and this white. So basically from here to here, I'm going to create a gradient that goes across these shadows and really kind of smooths that out. And it's going to look really nice. He's going to look like he has... you can do that with an airbrush pretty easily. I have an airbrush, never used it. I don't really have a place to use it. I did build a little workbench in my closet, but it's not ventilated yet. So I'm hesitant to use my airbrush in a confined closet without ventilation. So once I get the ventilation up, I'll try airbrushing something like this. But for now, I've gotten used to just wet blending stuff like that I want to do. So we're going to work on some of these chests now. Okay, while the tail is drying.
All right, let's get out some browns and blues.
I kind of want the chests to be brightly colored, you know? So we're going to do some gold. I've got some whites. Maybe we can paint something white on there. So just like a cream color. Screaming Skull is like a greenish cream color. You know, it's like a cool off-white. Let's see. And I need to mix this in somewhere. I like to use Uriel yellow. It's my it's the color of the pus from my Death Guard army. I like to put it in everything I paint. So I'll find a place to use that. Let's see. Okay. I've got an idea. Let's try this. I'm going to take this Screaming Skull. I'm going to rebase these treasure chests right here. Let me... just like that in there. Rebasing all that. You know, this happens when you don't have a plan and you're winging it. But that's what art is, right? Who are we as artists if we're not willing to change our plans when we get a hair up our butts about it? You know? Who are we? Nobody. That's who. So, get this other side here. Yes. Okay. That is rebased. Screaming Skull. It's a little bit of a cooler white than the rest of him. It's actually a little bit warmer, considering like a yellower, but it's like a greenish white. When you put it up next to a different white, it's like greenish. But next to this, it's very warm. Okay, I need a little bit more, just because it didn't cover completely. But like I said, it's greenish, it's warmer here, it's cooler in other places. Color is relative. So it's always relative to what you're painting. And right here, things are cooler around it, so this white is going to appear warmer. Where in other situations, it might appear like a cooler white. But you have so many purples around, you have so many warm, warm colors on the other side of the purples. So your warm colors feel warmer because of the cool colors. It's all relative. Okay. Okay, now that chest is primed, I guess. White. Nice. Okay. Now I just wanted to get those. Because I'm going to do some primary colors for these chests. I want like a red chest. I want a teal chest. I want a blue chest. And then gold trim on those. And I think that's going to look really nice. It's going to look very regal. And since he's a king, he has nice luggage. So he got the topaz luggage. He didn't skimp. And this is King Alarin from the Sea of Legends game. Let's see. Here it is. Sea of Legends. This is the rule book. There's a new rule book coming that is awesome and better, and everyone's going to love it. So if you didn't get Sea of Legends yet, you're going to have a much easier time learning with this new rule book. I can't tell what this is. I'm trying to. Sometimes I have to analyze the model and be like, what is this? It looks like a bedroll, actually. It looks like a bedroll. I'm going to make it a bedroll. I'm not sure what's next to it, but we're going to come to that later. So, I'm going to do this. I'm going to prime this white. And then I might do another color over it. But you know what? Actually, it looks pretty good white. I might leave this bedroll white. But it could just be because of the dark colors around it. We're going to find out. We're going to find out as I continue whether this continues to look good as white. But I'll leave it white for now. This bedroll. And the bottom. Now, like I said, things get darker as they go down, so I'm mixing a little bit of brown into the white so that it's not exactly white on the bottom. It's kind of an off-white, right? Darker color. Because you want that grounding effect. There we go. And I'm just going to do a little swirl here because it's a wrap. And although this is flat, right, the surface of this part of the model is flat, I'm going to imply that the bedroll is wrapped with a little bit of a painted circle there. Boom. A dot there and a highlight there and a highlight there. That's good. And bring that around to there. Okay, I like that. I like it a lot. Okay, I'm gonna do something with these ropes. We're gonna grab some Bugman's Glow. We're gonna grab some Screaming Skull. We're gonna mix these two together to create a tan color, and we're gonna paint these ropes. Nice. That's exactly what I wanted. That's the color. And something that you should do when you are painting is paint with a limited palette. You know, I have a bunch of paints here. I haven't used all of them. But you see, I keep going back to some of these for different parts of the painting, you know? And I keep using relative colors in my painting. Like this wine glass is the same color as the shadows under his skin. You know, Bugman's Glow I'm using for this leather pouch or whatever this is, this kind of piece of luggage. But I'm also mixing the Bugman's Glow with the Screaming Skull that I'm using on the bedroll over here to make the ropes. And you kind of want to have these sort of like colors that are repeating and you're mixing throughout without getting muddy to bring the whole thing together. And it just kind of creates a cohesion, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of highlight these ropes. I'm only going to try and hit the surfaces, you know, and not the edges. I will bring it close. I need some light. I'm going to turn this on. This might blind some people. I'm going to keep it up higher. I just need some more light. Hopefully this you but here we go. So I'm going to kind of try and highlight some of these ropes. Yeah, looking good. I kind of go with the flow of the rope, you know, the way the strands are wrapping. That helps you to not get it in the crevices. It helps maintain the flow of the model. So if there is a paint pool, it goes with the flow of the model. You don't notice it. Look at that rope. Look at that rope. If you can see it, I can't. I don't know what I'm looking at. Is it focusing? No one say anything. Okay, let me see. Oh, it's focusing, but it's in the shadow, I think. I'll bring this light around. There. Well, it's very exposed. I don't know if you can see it, but I'll turn the light away. There you go. So the ropes are popping out nice. You can see the crevices between the ropes. All you got to do is get your brush and you pull it in the direction of the rope. So it's going up this way. Nope, up that way, that way. Because that's the direction of the thread of the rope. So you go like that. Paint it like this, right? And it keeps it from going in the crevices. Now I'm going to continue that. I'm going to get all of these ropes, pop those out, and then I'm going to kind of do some of these other objects. Because the reason I'm doing the ropes now is because it's a little bit difficult to tell what all these objects are. And I think if I pop these ropes out, it'll help me see what the other things are. Because like if I can help identify the ropes, then what isn't rope will be more apparent to me. And that is something that I do on some models. If I'm having difficulty, like, oh, what is that little detail? I will paint around it until I have everything else painted that I can see and then I can tell what it is. And then when I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's what it is. It's a finger, or it's a, you know, it's a gun, or, you know, whatever the heck it is. But I'm having that problem on this because there's so many things, so many details on this beautiful model that my simple brain is having difficulty keeping track of it all. So I'll just make it easier on myself. I'm gonna get a little bit of paint off of my brush, darken it a little bit because we're going under the model, right? So as it goes under the model, I want these ropes to darken. We're turning the form. And what's underneath is in shadow. Beautiful. The awesome sculpting really helps me paint. Takes a lot of the guesswork out. You can also paint across the ropes, like directly across. And hopefully you skip the crevices. Doesn't always happen that way, so sometimes you have to be diligent, especially if the details are small and hard to skip over with the brush. By skip over, I mean allow the brush to pass over it and only hit the highlights. The details are really small. Sometimes it's difficult to do that, and you just have to paint it by hand. Okay. It's getting there. It's getting there. What's everyone else up to? What are you guys working on lately? What's one of your projects that you're most excited about or that you're planning on starting? Okay. All right. The ropes are coming along on this side. The pieces are popping out. That's the top of a sack. See? Okay. I'm going to take a little bit of this Mornfang brown just to lighten or warm this up. Nice. Mornfang brown is a nice reddish brown. I'm just going to paint it in some of these areas. Give a little bit of life back to the ropes, to this leather. There we go. Make them not so just white. Never tried painting before. Well, if you have any questions, let me know, and I will answer them to the best of my abilities. Right here with you, live, in person. Not in person. Live and not in person. Okay, I'm gonna get a little bit of this yellow and highlight this. Ooh, nope, I need to mix it before I highlight it. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Get that gold color in there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So just kind of highlighting these areas. Pop. Now I'm going to take a little bit more of this yellow, a little bit more pure, and get it right on top, like that. And then I'm just going to mix it in. Mix it in. Lick that brush. Mix it in. Don't lick your brushes. turn that form a little bit. Get that yellow. Mix it. Perfect. I like that. I like that. Let's see. 2020 Blood Bowl. That's exciting. I am ashamed to say I've never played Blood Bowl. I've played it on the computer, though. I know what it is. I've never played it in person, in real life. Okay, I'm painting some trim on this piece of luggage here. I want it to be yellow. Trim, I really like that. Nice. And I'm going to do it down here too. Got to be careful because there's other things down here. I want it to be other colors, but it's working well. Nice. I like it. I like it. And that side didn't turn out so good, but that's fine. Give me your notes. I would say it's better, but definitely takes away some of the difficulties, some of the curve, the learning curve. All right, I'm just going to grab some of that blue that I spilled on my desk earlier, and I'm just going to paint some of these balls, this blue, over the black, because this blue now has thickened to the point where it's basically a paint, and I have a feeling it's going to look really nice over black now that it's this thick. So not a technique I planned, but definitely one I'm going to try. And that looks pretty nice. You can see right here, the blue. Let me turn this light off. Maybe you can see it better. Yeah, looking pretty good. All right, let's go to this other side. Wow, there's so much to paint, so many details. The tail fins are dry, and I'm going to do some white dry brushing on the tail fins. Bring back that beautiful white color. I had to bring in a new white because this one is almost out. It's a different white, but oh my gosh. I don't know what's wrong with this white. Let's shake it as much as I can. Oh my gosh. Have you ever seen this? Look at this white. It's like cheese. Can you see that? Is it too exposed? This is like cheese, like feta. I've never seen this before. Look at that. This is brand new. Maybe if I put some water in it or something, I can reconstitute it. That is horrible. Okay, I'm going to try putting some water because it's not usable as is. If not, I'll just grab some of the pigments. I'm back. I put some water in it. I'm shaking it up like crazy. Flip it over, shake it the other way, shake it sideways. All right. Now let's see. Horrible. Still horrible. Better, but still horrible. I can do something with this though. I can do something. All I need is the pigment on the brush and then I can brush it off. Okay. So this is fine. This is fine. Get one of those chunks on there. It's all chunky. Chunky monkey. Okay. Now I'm going to brush that pigment. I'm going to get that pigment into the bristles, smooth it out. And then I'm going to try and get it off of there. I think I can work with this. Okay. See how I'm going to try dry brushing it. Okay, wet palette. Help with what? This chunky white? No. Not that I know of. Could. Cheese white indeed. I mean, literally there's chunks of pigment coming off onto my brush. I will say, this model is rather, the tail especially, rather difficult to dry brush because it doesn't just go in one direction. It goes in all sorts of directions. It comes in and out and over and around. And so when you're dry brushing, you're like, you have to pull and flick this way, and then you have to push and flick that way. Okay, I'm going to try with this brush. Maybe this brush will work better. Okay. This is my wife's makeup brush that I stole from her. Okay. Get that white on there. Get that white. Mix it in. Brush it out. Let's test. Let's test. Haha, much better. Very smooth. Very smooth. This is why I like using my wife's makeup brushes when I do dry brushing. Okay, as you can see, it's bringing back that white, and I'm trying to bring it more to the edges, right? Then near the base. And look at how clean of a gradient. I don't know if you can see that. It creates a really nice clean gradient because it's such a soft brush, right? These makeup brushes are so soft that when they brush on, there's almost no lines. There's none of those like dust speckles that you get when you dry brush. It's just a super clean gradient. Yes. Nice. I'm liking this. Just give it some nice flicks with the dry brushing. Flick it. Flick it. Flick it. Yes, look at that. I load my brush up a little bit more when I want to create it brighter, quicker. You know, obviously, that's what you would do. Load it up more. But you can't overdo it when you're dry brushing. You can overdo it. Okay. Oh man, I got in the crevices on the tail. Okay. I gotta blend that out. Just gotta blend it out. We can fix it. Oh, he's turning out pretty well, I think. Looking a lot like a koi fish. Looking good, looking like a koi fish should. What's everyone think? Any thoughts on this model? Any thoughts on the paint job? What would you have done different? Other than everything. You know, if I didn't teach you anything except that we should all close our paint pots when we're done using them, then I've done well here. If we learned that, then I think we will all come away better people. All right, so now I'm pretty pleased with the dry brushing. I'm going to go in with the white a little bit pure, and I'm dry brushing some white highlights on the edges, on all of the edges, bringing those really whites back out, right? And that's going to make the darker parts pop more, and the darker parts are going to make the whites pop more, right? So all of these are working in concert to help them each other achieve the look they're going for, or achieve the look I want them to go for. For instance, these little spots on the bottom of the fins right here, I want those to pop. So I'm not dry brushing all the way everywhere. I'm allowing some of those things to be a little bit dingier, a little bit darker, and then taking those highlights, really pushing them in those areas, blending them into those other areas, creating some nice gradients. Oh my gosh, look what I've done. Okay, that's fine. I was going to throw this brush away anyways. So there we go. See that white highlight? I'm just brushing it right on the tip. I want to get the tops of them very bright. I want that top to be white. And I want it to fade into the rest of it. White. Beautiful. And that's going to make that other spot, right? So when I do this, yeah, those highlights are going to pump out because not everything is really white. Can you see that on the top? What doesn't my wife need? Brush abuse. No, this is an old brush of hers. She gave it to me. I actually asked her. She was throwing it away, and I was like, hey, can I have that? And she's like, why? And I was like, she's like, you're not going to wear makeup, are you? And I was like, no. I want it for painting. She's like, oh, yeah, no problem. All right. Okay. Now, come back to this side. I'm going to brush that white back up on the top. Ow. Hit it. Get that. Yeah. Be a little bit more liberal on the tops now, right? We want to push that directional lighting like we were talking about, right? On the tops. We want to hit the areas where the light is going to hit. And then we're going to come back in with metallics on the top so that we can dry brush some metallics onto those. And that is going to catch light. It's going to look pearlescent, you know? It's going to look nice. Okay. I'm done dry brushing, I think. That I really like how that turned out. I really like the gradients that we have in the tail and the fins. That looks really nice. I'm going to paint the other eye. I'm going to come back in with some layer brush, and I'm going to layer in some of those other colors back into the tail, some of the oranges. Let's do this eye first. We'll close my white paint here. We're going to get some of this Averland Sunset that I used for the other eye. Get out my small brush. That's not my small brush. Here's my small brush. Get that Averland Sunset. Paint that eye. We want the whites of his eye to be yellow, like fish are, which I learned tonight. We're leaving the dark areas of the eye dark. We're only painting the middle part, the body of the middle part. Okay, we're going to come back in with our dark brown. We're going to paint. We need to check the size of this pupil. It's about 2 millimeters, maybe. There it is. Make sure it's nice and dark. And then we're going to come back in with white. On top of that, we got this chunky white. We're going to call it chunky white for now. Actually, I've got some on my thing right here. We're just going to grab one of these chunks. Going to break that chunk up. Mix it onto this. Dab it with some water. Come back into that chunk. Try and smooth it out. And cross our fingers. It's not great, but we can recover. Chunky white, don't fail me now. Get one of them chunks on there. I'm just going to try and put one of the chunks on there. Not bad, actually. Not bad. I'm going to put a chunk on the other side. Hey, not bad. Look at you. Okay, and I like this chunky white as a highlight. We're going to come in here. We're going to highlight some of these edges. Chunky white style. And like I promised, I'm going to mix some of this chunky white with this purple. We're going to blend this purple out into our white. So what I do, I'll show you my palette. I create a gradient from dark purple, which is basically the color of the shadow, to white, right? So I have this gradient here, and I can pick from that gradient that I've created while I'm wet blending to get the spot that I need. So right now I have the lightest light, so I'm going to paint that here. Right, so I'm going to paint that here, just between them, right there. You can't really tell it's there, but then when I grab the darker purple, it's like a mid-tone, I can wet blend between those two. And that is the magic right there. You see the magic? That's the magic. Okay. Do the same thing, but I'm going to do it in reverse because right now I have the darker purple, the mid-tone purple. I'm going to paint it right there. So then I'm going to come get this brighter, and I'm going to walk it back, right, onto this surface. Walk it back, mix it back into this dark. Take my white, chunky white. I'm going to highlight the edge with that, right? And then I'm going to lick my brush, which you should never do. And I'm going to mix that into that purple. Mix that. Okay, I need a little bit more mid-tone. Just to cover that up. Nice. Okay. Get some of this dark. Let's start just blending this out. Blend that out a little bit. Blend that out. Blend that out. Gonna just try and break up this line that we have on the lip. Break that line up with this mid-dark tone, right? Break that line up, right? And you want to blend that into the dark area in the crevice. Yes, like that. Okay. Now we take our lighter paint, the one we mixed with white. We're going to come right on the edge, blend that into the white. Blend that into the white right there. Blend that into the white. Blend that into the white. Then we take our white, our pure white, like that. And we're going to come back here. The white. Blend that in. Blend that in with the lighter purple. Blend that in. How's that looking? Nice. So now we got that bottom lip. Nice and blended. Right? We're going to do that all around the face. We're going to take our mid-tone. I need some more purple on my palette. Need some more purple to blend. Take that. I'm going to put it on the darkest spot. Lick my brush. Don't ever do that. Come on. And put that on the lightest spot. Okay, and then I'm going to blend that into each other. Blend that into each other until I've got a gradient. And I'm going to wipe all that off. And I'm going to pick the mid-tone and blend these out. Blend these out. I'm just going to go around to all of these lines now that you've seen the process. Blend all of these lines out into the white with this mid-tone. Yep. Just like that. Break up those lines where the shade kind of created a line. This is one of the easiest ways to wet blend. But what you have to know, and here, so you see right there, I accidentally got into the crevice. What you can do, get your brush wet, make a point, and then dig it out with a wet brush. Get it in there, dig it out. Dig it out. Get it wet, dig it out. Brush it, scoop it, scrub it until you get rid of the paint in the crevice. And you're back to your dark color. There you go. So now I go back with my medium tone. I'm going to go and break up all these lines. Break up that line right there. Come and break that line up. Break up these lines. And then come in with your whiter color, your lighter color, whatever. Come on, open, you pot. Do you ever have pots that don't want to stay open and they continuously close? Look at this. I open it, it closes. It closes all the way almost. Irritating. This pot. Put my thing down there. I hate having to use this thing in here, you know, because then it makes it super difficult to close again. And I always get paint everywhere when I try and close it again. Ugh. All right, let's do this. All right, so I'm just going to finish this side of the face. It's getting a little late. I don't want to keep everybody. It's almost 5. So I'm just going to take my white and I'm going to highlight these crevices on his cheeks. I really like the surface of the detail on his face. It's really nice. And bring back the white lips a little bit. No, I don't want them too purple. I just want the crevices purple. I want the feeling of blood underneath. Because even fish have blood, even if it's Um, we don't see the blood when we eat fish steaks. It's there. Okay, bring that white back. Nice. All right, and then get that top of that lip. I really like how this is turning out. I'm gonna finish this on my own time, but let's kind of go over what we did today. So, the top of that eye, that looks good. Oh yeah, that eyelid. I'm gonna get that eyelid right there. Look at that. Look at this guy. I'm gonna put some pops of white there. Put a pop of white right here. Look at that. I'm gonna do one right here on this furrow. That furrow right there. Yeah. He's an angry looking fish. So don't mess with me. Okay. I'm gonna put another one there. Okay. You can just keep working on these forever. Everyone knows that. When do you call it quits? I think when time runs out. That's the answer. So I really like how the fins turned out. It's exactly how I wanted it to be. Especially this side right here. That side turned out really nice. I think I might need to work a little bit more on this side, but this side of the fins turned out really, really nice. And with some layering, coming back in with a little bit more orange, some pure paint, some pure white, really going to make those pop, especially after doing that shade coat and then the dry brushing. Very simple techniques to get some effective lighting. Look at that. Especially, look at that when you highlight just the top of it. Very nice. Okay, so there's the fish. For those of you who stuck with us the whole time that we're there from the beginning to the end, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciated your company, your input, especially whoever told me to paint this guy blue, the skin. That's awesome. I really like how that looks. Yeah, so we started off with like a white prime. We did a metallic dry brush. We did a contrast paint under that. You can really see, I don't know if you can see it, but I can see that when you move the model, the metallics really catch the light. And it's called dielectric look. When you can see that metallics get a little bit darker in the core shadow, and then it catches a reflective light. That's called dielectric. But it looks really nice, especially since this is supposed to be fish scales. So we did the contrast paint over the metallic dry brush. Then we did some layer painting. We did a little bit more shading with some Citadel shades. We dry brushed the fins with some whites, using a makeup brush to blend it in a very soft way that almost looks airbrushed. And it's starting to look really nice. I think I can work on this for another 5 hours and it will be beautiful. I like to take my time on them. There's quicker techniques that you can use to achieve results that are not bad. But some of these techniques, if you keep pushing them like this, layering and doing a little bit of wet blending, it can look really nice. So this is 2 hours worth of work. I think in maybe 5 hours. This is 3 hours worth of work. I worked for 3 hours. So I think maybe in like 5 hours, I'd have a finished model. So 2 more hours. Oh, I almost dropped him. Caught him. But anyways, thank you so much for coming. And I hope you have a lot of fun at the rest of Aw Shucks's convention for the weekend. And pick up Guildhall Studios Sea of Legends if you haven't already. Play it with your friends. It is a ton of fun. And this is one of the characters from that game. His name is King Alarin, and he is kind of like an exile hunted by the Seekers, and you kind of have to save his butt. Anyways, thank you so much, and everyone have a good night and have a great weekend.